Hey everybody, Adam from Atlas Gunworks. We're going to start to talk a little bit about the history in some of these videos, and they'll probably have some kind of cool title like the history of Atlas Gunworks. But we're actively buying up some of the older guns or taking them in on trade. And as that happens, we'll start to use them to tell our story a little bit. Like all companies, we probably didn't document the exact history, so a lot of this is going to be done from my memory. But luckily, we were pretty different and a lot smaller company just a couple of years ago, and at this point, my memory is good enough that we can still talk about most of these guns in depth. So I personally remember when we did this gun build. So the early days of Atlas Gunworks, we took custom orders, we bought other people's parts, and we made guns. So not one part in this gun from 2016 was made in an Atlas facility because we didn't get our first CNC machine until 2017. And the designs weren't really set just yet. This gun kind of came in as we were starting to realize that it makes a little bit more sense, both for production and for the consumer, to have set models. So custom guns are super cool. They have their place. The issue with custom guns ends up being that and this is a pretty unique 6-inch 9mm pistol, bushing barrel too. Unless somebody wants this exact look with these exact features and this design, they don't hold their value. So same with custom cars. You do a classic custom car and restore a car to absolute back to zero, has more value typically than you go do a wild paint color and put in, yellow seats or whatever you're into. So all in all, I think as a customer experience, because the demand for these guns was growing so much, it made sense for us to go get set models that had an appropriate, or a value to them. And it also speeds up our production, so we're able to get more units out. There's always been more demand for our guns than we could supply. So in just a second, I'll throw this on the table and run through what makes this gun different. But in the very beginning, you got to get a federal firearms license, so we have to get a commercial location. We did that. It takes a few months, 3-4 months to get the license. We get a license. So we get a license at the end of 2014, and we ran a soft year in 2015. So Todd West, my business partner, kept his day job. I had a couple other businesses. So I was in 2015, in the beginning, was spending, I'll make up a number, but 20 hours a week doing this. And then by the middle of 2015, I'm nearly full time. And by the end of 2015, I'm just, doing 10-hour days or 12-hour days probably. And poor Todd's at home or coming home from his day job, working 8 or 10 hours and then staying up till midnight doing the machining side of this. So in 2015, I go to USPSA Nationals and say, hey, if I can pre-sell 20 guns here, we'll have Todd quit his job. So didn't sell 20 at the show, but sold 20 pretty closely after. So by December 2015, Todd quits his day job. I'd effectively gotten sucked in and was pretty much full time at that point. And I had another corporation that had gotten an FFL, and we had Atlas Gunworks was a trade name. So we formed actual Atlas Gunworks, I think December 24th, 2015. So 2016 was the first real year of Atlas Gunworks. This gun, if memory serves me, was built that year. And so somewhere in that 2016 world, we're building more guns because we're doing it full time, and parts are really hard to get. And the problem is with this gun, and I'll run through the parts, but there's probably 12 or 15 vendors. So one vendor's late and you can't get a gun done. So we didn't want to build a machine shop and vertically integrate, but we were forced to, for the most part. And then it's somewhere in there, we start to realize too, that there's so much back and forth with customers when you're doing the one-on-one custom stuff that it takes twice as long to build the gun. And you also have a product that, in my opinion, is worth less down the road. That's a little bit of the history of Atlas Gunworks. So I'll just lay out a couple milestones. So 2017 in the spring, in April, we moved to our second location. And then that summer, summer of 17, we buy our first CNC machine. And then we buy a second CNC machine in 2018. And so 2024 today, we've got, I don't know, a dozen machines out there and a wide variety of capability. We don't make every single part in the gun in 2014 in the building, but we could. I think there's 3 parts that we have subcontracted. and two of them, one of them being the hammer and sear setup. So there's a new sear design for 2024, but EGW makes it for us. We just took their design and put our spin on it. And then late 24, early 25, you'll start seeing Atlas hammers in the guns. Same deal, our design, but EGW's making them. They make those two parts so well. And they're particularly important and difficult parts to make. So, and the EGW's been great with supply. So those two parts probably stay EGW. There's no reason to do that. They do such a good job. Can't say that about most vendors. Most vendors have times where it's good and bad, both on supply and price and quality. So we do make almost every other part in the gun in-house. And sometimes when we have capacity issues or something, we'll sub out a part, but it's our design. And then they all come through our quality control department, which is stiff. That's what makes the gun special. So I'm going to jump into this exact gun and talk a little bit about that. So if you're not interested in that, you can jump off now. If you are, we'll talk about this 6-inch 9mm bushing gun. So very interesting. We didn't have capabilities in 2016 to make frames. So this is a Phoenix Trinity frame, and in the beginning they made those frames with our serial number code, which is AGW, and this is 000001 or whatever. I think that's the max amount. Don't hold me to this, but I think I looked it up, and the ATF had a max amount of digits, and we maxed it out. And they called us a couple months, a run or two after this frame set, and said, "Can we do less? This is a lot of engraving for you'll never, we'll never get to whatever that number is." In fact, at 3, and that, yeah, I think it's a million. Or you can go to 9999, so you can go to almost 10 million on that digit set. So, but the frame's still logged in as a Phoenix Trinity. It's not our frame. Later on, Phoenix Trinity, we got a variance. The ATF lets you have a variance so somebody else can make frames for you, and we ran Phoenix Trinity frames, but with our name on them. And then now frames are made in-house. The frame is a critical part. You really need to make that in-house. Subbing frames out is probably nearly impossible to get the quality level that we want. But in the early days, that's what we did. This one's got a PT grip. This is a smooth grip. Those were popular for a while. They're not nearly as popular now. And back then, they ran the standard geometry. So you've got a mainspring housing that's generic, double stack mainspring housing. And then this is actually a working grip safety that's been pinned. And the reason you don't want, everyone pinned them back in the day, so why have something that moves that then you have to pin, because then sometimes you get this or whatever. So not ideal. And then I'll venture a guess that that's a Caspian slide. Not very many folks are making 6-inch slides. So I'll run through some of the other parts in the gun. This is a SBI trigger system. Those were kind of cool. The interchangeable parts cool. They're expensive. They're a little soft, so they bend a lot, and they're difficult to get. And the company's particularly difficult to work with. So we needed to have a different trigger system. I think we solved that in 2017 or 18 with the X-Line triggers. This is a Doug Koning hammer. The early Doug Koning hammers were made by EGW, so it's pretty much underneath, and it just has a different shape up top, but it's an EGW made product. That's not true in 2024. My understanding is that those are made somewhere else. So we would never use a Doug Koning hammer at this point. And the cool part about the Doug Koning hammers, we'll see if this does it, is they kind of have a tuning fork snap when they hit. And that one did it better that time. I don't know why, but they just all kind of do that. That's something to do with the geometry in there. I don't know who made this grip safety, but you can see it's just oddly shaped or whatever. And then this is just a standard mainspring housing with traction. So a lot less cool than grips that almost everybody's making better stuff now, right? The evolution of the guns has been pretty wild. And that was partly what we were trying to do. Like, our goal was to make everyone else make better guns and keep some kind of price control. I think that's probably one of the 3 places that be as successful as we wanted to. It's just machining these parts in America is expensive. And we've had a lot of inflation here in the last 4 or 5 years. But the goal was for us to make good quality guns that forced everyone else to make their product better, and to to shorten the timeline. And effectively, for a very long time, we shortened the timeline. Our popularity is becoming problematic in the timeline, and we're now seeing the timeline start to eke out. But that was the original kind of goal of Atlas Gunworks. The grips didn't come back then with mag catches. I'm almost certain that's probably an EGW mag catch. This is a short dust cover frame, long 6-inch. We got some relief cuts in the slide to save weight, and a bushing gun. That's the way the customer wanted it. It was a weird order, and so we built the gun they wanted. But this gun wouldn't satisfy 99% of other people's desire at the time, and especially now. And so again, this is kind of what would to some degree make the guns on resale not nearly as valuable. So we care a lot here about the resale value of the guns. We think these are like nice watches or nice cars, and they should have a value for a very long time, if not forever. Theoretically, all these guns are going to outlive us, right? These are 200-year, 500-year products if they're taken care of. Back to this gun a little bit. I don't remember if this is a Wilson. So this is somebody's slide stop. The frame's a narrow frame, and the narrow frames, nobody uses them anymore, but back then it was a choice. It's not as wide, and so you got your... this is... We would never let anything like this happen now, but the slide stop sticks out here, and that's common on some 1911 stuff, but... you know, now all this is flush and meant to, and then this would be flush as well, right? We would have a frame and slide that are flush together. This one's got NP3 coating. That was a really great coating for a while. It's a electroless nickel with Teflon. The company who did it has changed hands since then, and we weren't able to reproduce the quality level we wanted, but this is probably one of my favorite coatings back in the day. Super slick, it works well, coats well. You just can't maintain it. Same thing, people get upset we're not doing hard chrome. We had one guy, Virgil Tripp, did our hard chrome for a long time. Virgil's amazing. He built special tanks to do 1911s. He's the T and STI from back in the day. And Virgil's no longer doing hard chrome. So in Virgil's, retirement, coming into retirement here. So he wasn't going to do our hard chrome after whatever year. We tried some other vendors. It was ugly. I think we threw out $250,000 worth of guns. It just wasn't feasible. We were never going to be able to, and the hard chrome process and the NP3 plating, they're both plating processes. If you do that incorrectly, you basically ruin the gun. It can't really be redone easily. And our tolerances are so tight, they really don't make well for plating. So the physical vapor deposition products are much better, the DLC and CRN and TIN. So you've seen us make a hard shift to that. It's just a better product. And it's easy to redo. This is very difficult to recoat. The thumb safety, I think this is an EGW thumb safety. It's single-sided. Again, there's no uniformity to the gun, so every gun was its own. And then this one had a KKM barrel. We still love the KKM barrels. We make our own barrels now, mostly because KKM couldn't get us enough production time in their facility. They were just busy, but they still make phenomenal products. And the old ones are labeled KKM here. The newer ones are usually labeled down by the feet. So that's this gun. I mean, if you shoot this against a 4.6-inch gun today with the proper grip, the new guns perform much better. Will this gun shoot a very accurate deal? Yeah. Shooting a 6-inch 9mm, even in a bushing gun, is slow. The gun cycle time is slow. The return to zero in this is not nearly what the new guns are. And so that was part of our thing too, is we'll just build the proper guns for 90% of folks. If somebody needs something custom or 6-inch or they want that, then there's other places to go get those guns. But when we do the geometry on the guns, 90% of people are going to shoot those guns really, really well. The return to zero is going to be really good. If you've got a ton of grip pressure or almost none, then you need different stuff, and there might be folks where this plays into that. But this gun's destined for our museum here. We couldn't afford as we went to save guns, so we're buying them back as we get them. So when they have a cool story or a cool serial number, you'll see us buy them back and put them in the museum. I'll do some more of these videos as time goes on and really give you guys some insight into Atlas Gunworks and our story. But I think if you had asked when we were starting this what it would be, I don't think that we would tell you it was going to be as big as it is today in 2024. And I think even 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't see quite the path that we do now. So, we've got a very, very bright future, a lot of opportunity to make more guns. I would tell you that if you're a fan, the guns are still going to be exclusive. It's not going to be, we've got 20 on the shelf ready to go. The demand is much higher than that. And part of that, I'll give a little history to the marketplace, is that the 2011 platform, and I'll make up numbers, I'll be kind of close, but it's hard to know the real numbers. There were probably 20 or 25,000 units being built in 2015, and now there's if all the big players get to the numbers they'd like to, we're on our way to like 200,000 to 250,000 units. So the market's almost 10x. And I'll do a cool video about the 2011 marketplace. That should be its own video. So I hope to see you guys on the range soon. It's 2024. We're working on a big expansion now, so I'm not I thought this was the summer I was going to get to shoot a whole lot, and I think it might be 2025 that I'm shooting a whole lot. But I'm excited to get back out there on the road and see everybody on the range, shoot some USPSA, some 2-gun, some 3-gun, some non-USPSA pistol matches. We just love shooting, and we love the shooting sports, and we like doing long range, and we like doing pistols, and we like doing 3-gun. And we love doing 2-gun too. So hope to see you guys on the range soon.